Chapter 15. The first thing Tom heard on Friday morning was a wonderful piece of news. Judge Thatcher's family had come back to town the night before. Both Injun Joe and the treasure lost importance. All Tom's thoughts were about Becky now. He saw her and they had a good time playing with a group of other children. That day brought more good news. Becky's mother agreed to appoint the next day for the long-promised picnic. All the children were happy, including Tom. The invitations were sent out before sunset, and the children of St. Petersburg began to prepare for the picnic. Tom was excited that he fell asleep very late. He hoped to hear from Huck that night, so he could surprise Becky and the other children the next day. But he was disappointed. No signal came that night. Morning came, and by 10 or 11 o'clock, a cheerful company gathered at Judge Thatcher's house. Everything was ready for the picnic. Parents did not usually go to picnics. The children were safe enough under the wings of a few young ladies of 18 and a few young gentlemen of 23 or so. The plan was to go to the place of the picnic in a steamboat. Finally, the happy company moved along the main street, carrying the baskets with food. Sid was sick and had to miss the fun. The last thing Mrs. Thatcher said to Becky was, "You'll get back late. Perhaps you'd better stay all night with some of the girls that live near the river, child." "Then I'll stay with Susie Harper, Mother." "Very well, and behave yourself, and don't be any trouble." When they were all ready in the street, Tom said to Becky, "Say, I'll tell you what we'll do. Instead of going to Joe Harper's place, we'll climb right up the hill and stop at the Widow Douglas's. She'll have ice cream. She has it almost every day, lots of it, and she'll be glad to have us." "Oh, that will be fun." Then Becky thought for a moment and said, "But what will Mama say?" "How will she ever know?" The girl turned the idea over in her mind and said, "I think it's wrong, but your mother won't know, and so what's the harm? All she wants is that you'll be safe, and you will be safe." Becky agreed, so it was decided to say nothing to anybody about the night's program. Tom then thought that perhaps Huck would come this very night and give the signal. Still, he could not miss the fun at Widow Douglas's. And why should he thought. The signal did not come the night before, so why should it come tonight? The idea of the fun of the evening seemed to him more important than the uncertain treasure. And as boys often do, he decided not to think about the box of money that day. 3 miles below town, the steamboat stopped. The crowd landed, shouting and laughing. After the games, the children came back to the camp, and then the destruction of food began. In the afternoon, somebody shouted, "Who's ready for the cave?" Everybody was. The children brought candles and went up the hill. The entrance to the cave was up the hill, a big hole in the form of a letter A. Its heavy wooden door was never locked. The first part of the cave was small and cold. It was romantic and mysterious to stand here in the darkness and look at the green hills shining in the sun. Then the children moved down the main passage, which was not more than 8 or 10 feet wide. Every few steps, other and narrower passages branched off from it. McDougal's cave was, in fact, a large labyrinth of paths that ran into each other and out again and led nowhere. It was said that it was possible to walk there days and nights and never find the end of the cave. The paths went down and still down into the earth, and it was just the same, labyrinth under labyrinth, and no end to any of them. No one knew the cave. That was an impossible thing. Most of the young men knew a part of it, and they did not go outside this part. Tom Sawyer did not know more than the others. The children moved along the main passage for about a mile. Then groups and couples began to go into smaller passages, run in the corridors, and meet each other at points where the corridors joined again. The groups could hide from each other for half an hour, even in the known part of the cave. Soon, one group after another came back to the entrance of the cave, dirty but very happy. Only then they found out that it was already evening. Everyone liked the adventure. Huck was already near the hotel when he saw the steamboat's lights on the river. He heard no noise on board, because the young people were quiet, as people usually are who are tired to death. He wondered what boat it was, and then stopped thinking about it and put all his attention upon his business. The night was going to be cloudy and dark. 10 o'clock came. People disappeared from the streets. The town left the boy alone with the silence and the ghosts. 11 o'clock came. It was darkness everywhere now. Huck waited, but nothing happened. Was there any use in waiting? Why not give it up and go to sleep, he thought. Suddenly, he heard a noise. He was all attention in a second. The alley door closed. He ran to the corner of the brick store. The next moment, 2 men passed him. One of them seemed to have something under his arm. It must be that box. So they were going to take the treasure. Why call Tom now? It would be absurd. The men would get away with the box and never be found again. No, he would follow them, and nobody will see him in the darkness. Huck followed the men, moving like a cat. They went up the river street, and then turned to the left. Then they went straight ahead, and finally took the path that led up the Cardiff Hill. They passed the old Welshman's house, halfway up the hill, without hesitating, and went on. Good, thought Huck. They will bury it under the big old tree. But they did not stop near the tree. They went up to the top of the hill, and then disappeared in the bushes. Huck moved quicker now, because they could never be able to see him. Then he walked more slowly. He was afraid to go too fast. Then the boy stopped and listened. No sound. Everything was lost. He was going to run away, when he heard Injun Joe's voice, just 4 feet from him. Suddenly, he knew where he was. He knew he was not far from the widow Douglas's house. Very well, he thought. Let them bury it there. It won't be hard to find. Injun Joe said in a very low voice, Maybe she has guests. There are lights in the house, late as it is. I can't see any. This was that stranger's voice, the stranger from the haunted house. Huck was afraid to breathe. This, then, was the revenge job. His first thought was to run away. Then he remembered that the widow Douglas had been kind to him more than once, and maybe these men were going to murder her. He wanted to warn her, but he knew he couldn't do it. They would come and catch him. He thought all this and more in the moment between the stranger's answer and Injun Joe's next words. Look this way, don't you see now? Yes, well, there are guests, I think. You better give it up, Joe. How can I give it up when I am leaving this town forever? Give it up and maybe never have another chance. I tell you again, as I've told you before, I don't need her money. You may have it. But her husband did a bad thing to me. He was a judge, and he put me in jail. And that isn't all. He ordered to whip me in front of the jail, and the whole of the town saw it. Do you understand? He's dead now, but she'll pay for her husband. Oh, don't kill her. Don't do that. Kill? Who said anything about killing? I would kill him, but not her. When you want to take revenge on a woman, you don't kill her. I'll cut off an ear and... That's not... Keep your opinion to yourself. It will be better for you. I'll tie her to the bed and take the knife. If she dies, is that my fault? I'll not cry if she does. My friend, you'll help me in this thing. That's why you're here. If you don't help me, I'll kill you. Do you understand that? And if I have to kill you, I'll kill her. And nobody will ever know who have done this business. Well, if you need it, let's start then. The quicker the better. Do it now? And the guests there? No. We'll wait till the lights are out. There's no hurry.